Hi everybody and welcome to This Week in 23 Sports. I'm Nick Heeman and to my right is my co-host Eric Kelly, who has come to the realization as a Cleveland Browns fan that second really isn't the best when your team plays in the worst division in football.
Nick, we all can't be Browns fans, okay? And while that may be the fact, the Missouri football team definitely does not share that feature with my beloved Browns, competing in the SEC, arguably the best conference in college football. And so far this season, the Tigers have been more than holding their own, because with a win on Saturday against the Tennessee Volunteers, Missouri would cut the magic number of SEC wins needed to clinch the SEC East to 3.
Welcome to Faroe Field. I'm Jeremy Schrank alongside Nick Heeman for a big-time battle between the 9th-ranked Missouri Tigers and the 4-4 Tennessee Volunteers in what was a great 4-overtime contest just 1 year ago.
That's right, Jeremy, and it'll be interesting to see how the Missouri Tigers bounce back from the heartbreaking loss last week against the South Carolina Gamecocks. That game obviously went to 2 overtimes, ended with Andrew Baggett's missed field goal, but the good news for the Tigers is that they still control their own destiny going forward. If they win from here on out, they can still win the SEC East.
Yeah, and it's yet again another battle of backup quarterbacks here at Faroe Field. But this is a must-win game for Matty Mock and the Tigers if they still want to go to the SEC Championship game in Atlanta.
Tigers fans were excited to see injured quarterback James Franklin suit up tonight, but all he can do is give some tips to Matty Mock. The redshirt freshman must have been paying close attention because late in the first quarter, Mock connects on this pass to Dorial Green-Beckham, who cuts all the way across the field and into the end zone for the 9-yard score. Mizzou takes an early 7-0 lead, much to the delight of all the brave shirtless fans who have stood near freezing temperatures. True freshman quarterback Joshua Dobbs was making his first career start for the Tennessee Volunteers today, and he was given an SEC welcome by Marcus Golden, who gets a 7-yard sack to preserve Missouri's shutout.
Well, for a little longer at least, because after the Tigers added a field goal and a LaDamian Washington 26-yard touchdown, the Vols got on the board with a Michael Pilardi 51-yard field goal to make it 17-3. It wouldn't take long for Missouri to answer, though, as Mock found Marcus Lucas over the top for the 40-yard touchdown to make it 24-3 in favor of Missouri. Lucas led all Tiger receivers with 75 yards and a touchdown on only 4 catches. Tennessee tried to answer and get something going to put some more points on the board before the half, but as Joshua Dobbs scrambles right, he gets hit and commits one of the 3 costly turnovers on the evening for the Volunteers, which only gives Missouri another chance to add to its lead before the half. Dobbs did leave the Volunteers in rushing with 45 yards on 7 carries, but so did Matty Mock for the Tigers as he racked up 27 yards of his game-high 114 right here to put the Tigers in what looked to be field goal position right before the half. Baggett had thought he had escaped the nightmare from last week against South Carolina, but deja vu struck once again as he clanked another one off the left upright going into the halftime that echoed throughout Memorial Stadium, but the Tigers did take a 21-point lead into intermission.
The Tigers would add to their lead in the third quarter as Russell Hansbrough takes his handoff from Matty Mock and explodes for 26 yards, diving across the plane and into the end zone. With that score, Hansbrough becomes the 4th Missouri player with a touchdown on the night as the Tigers turn this conference matchup into a blowout. And just a little bit later, Shane Ray and Matt Hoke would reintroduce Dobbs to the Furrow Field AstroTurf with this sack, resulting in an 8-yard loss. The two were part of a Tigers defense that dominated all night long. This superb play continued as Braylon Webb makes a great read on the long ball for this interception, and can you believe it? This Mizzou team that won just 5 games last year now stands at 8-1 after a 31-3 statement victory over the Tennessee Volunteers. Well, Jeremy, it's just one of those days today where everything seemed to be going Missouri's way as the Tigers had 4 players find the back of the end zone in a dominating victory against the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, and it seemed like they had control for most of the ball game today. Matty Mock continued to find his big wide receivers down the field for some big plays. Tennessee had no offense, didn't even put up a touchdown today. A lot of drives killed with penalties, and Mizzou won the turnover battle once again, 3-0. They're going to win a lot of games if they continue to do that.
That's right. An overall solid bounce-back win for the Missouri Tigers after their heartbreaking game last week on homecoming. But the road to the SEC title game continues next week in Lexington, Kentucky, as the Tigers take on the Wildcats. At Furrow Field, for Jeremy Schrank, I'm Nick Heeman, 23 Sports. And with that win, the Mizzou football team moved up 1 spot in the BCS rankings to number 8 in the nation. Over at Mizzou Arena, the women's basketball team might not be ranked coming into the year, but that doesn't mean that there aren't high hopes for this winter. The Tiger squad that has 7 players returning finished up exhibition play on Tuesday against Quincy University. MUTV sports reporter Megan Barnes brings you the highlights.
Coming off a huge win over Southwest Baptist, senior Bree Coulis and the rest of the Missouri Tigers enter Tuesday's game against the Quincy University Hawks, ready to play. The Tigers are only returning 2 starters from the previous season, Coulis and Leanna Doty. Yet, the ladies are already playing like a team, ready for their final exhibition game. Mizzou's defense came out strong, forcing several turnovers and playing a huge role in the game. The Tigers recorded 6 steals and had rebounds on both offense and defense. The Tigers weren't the only ones working hard on Tuesday night. Coulis is undeniably the leader on the team, driving hard to the net and shooting 4 for 7 on the night. She was the second highest scorer for Mizzou with 11 points. However, Missouri's luck ran out when Coulis left with an injury early in the second half. However, this loss did not slow down the Tigers. With Coulis out, it quickly became the Maddie Stock show. Stock showed off her shooting capabilities, draining 4 3-pointers, 3 of which came in the second half. Fans were cheering and waltzing as Mizzou increased their point margin into double digits. Shooting 26 for 63 as a team and capitalizing on free throws, the ladies put up 71 points on the board, while holding the Hawks to a mere 42 points. Needless to say, these ladies are on fire. Mizzou dominated the court with 2 Tigers putting up double digits. The ladies will carry their momentum into the regular season game on Friday at St. Louis University. From Mizzou Arena, Megan Barnes, 23 Sports.
Well, that victory was a solid way to close out the preseason for the women's basketball team. You know, Nick, there are a lot of interesting storylines for this Missouri team. And luckily for us, MUTV sports analyst Greg Mark will be here next segment to break everything down. So stay tuned.
Welcome back. November has finally arrived, and with it comes a new collection of Missouri sports getting their seasons underway. Here to preview one of those teams, more specifically women's basketball, is TW23 analyst Greg Marks. Greg, thank you for blessing us with your presence. How are you doing, man?
Good, good.
Ready to talk about some women's basketball today?
Excited
Oh, I know you're ready. I know you're ready. Well, the first question we got for you is the Tigers have a talented freshman class coming in this year. Which of these players do you see having the biggest impact for Missouri in its upcoming season?
Well, I think it'll be Jordan Frericks. She's very talented in high school. She is the star of a team that won the state championship 3 straight years, and including an undefeated senior season. And she set the school records in scoring, steals, and rebounds. So I think they'll be able to work her in well because she can play forward or guard and have a lot of playing time.
Yeah, and you talked about her playing forward and guard. She
Yeah.
can fill the outside role and the inside role. Because last year, the outside specifically the three-point shooting, was so important for the Missouri Tigers. This year, do you see them relying as heavily on their outside game, or do you see them throwing it into the posts more?
Well, if Morgan I is still a key part of the Mizzou offense, then yeah. She made 112 three-point shots last year, which was by far more than anyone else on the team. And I mean, it's frankly ridiculous. I think that some of the other guards will, have to do that too. And I don't really know. Yeah.
So yeah, you talked about Morgan I. Obviously, she had a great season last year, unbelievable three-point shooter. Her and Bree Coulis are looking to have big years for the Tigers. But if you're looking past those two players, looking at the rest of the roster, who do you see stepping up as this team's third scorer heading into this season?
I think it'll be the sophomore Leanna Doty. Last year as a freshman, she mainly specialized in assists, but she also scored average 6.2 points a game. And I think she's good beyond the arc and closer in. And I think she started 23 games last year, and they'll definitely step that up this year.
And you said how she's mainly an assist person last year, kind of leading the offense at the point guard position. So it will be interesting to see if she can go beyond just passing and distributing and getting other people involved and make scoring opportunities for herself. Yeah. Now, switching from the players to the coaching, head coach Robin Pinchton finally led a Missouri team with a winning record last year. Has she done enough to make you confident that this team is finally on the rise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's slow improvement, but it's steady. That's kind of what she did at her last school, which was Illinois State. She took the Redbirds from a kind of mediocre team and made them a 3-time WNIT appearing team and 2 WNCA tournament appearances and 2 Missouri Valley Conference tournament champions. So I think she'll do the same sort of thing here at Mizzou.
I'm with you 100%. I think that if you saw how this team has improved from last season, I think Robin Pynchon has done a great job. I think that she'll continue to help this team going forward. But switching back to the players, you talked a lot about Morgan I and Bree Coolis was mentioned. Which of these players do you think will be the team's MVP this season?
I think it has to be Bree Coolis. She's the senior leadership. She has the most points scored of any current Mizzou player, and I think she's just an all-around good player. I think it has to be her.
She definitely is also like one of the only inside presence is on this team, and with that shooting around her, it should only benefit her even more. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens.
Off of that, Bree Coolis just recently got injured, as we saw in Megan Barton's package. Do you think that the Tigers can react on the fly and still put out the point production that they need to compete in the SEC without her?
I think they'll have some trouble because they really don't have that inside presence without her, but I think they will be able to. I think with Morgan I and some of the other talented, younger players, the freshmen and sophomores, I think they should be able to. It'll be difficult, but.
Yeah, we were focusing on players and the coaches, but now let's focus on the team as a whole. Very young last season, a lot of returning players. You talked about Bree Coolis, Morgan I, Leanna Doty as a couple, and some good freshmen coming in. How do you think this team will fare in the 2013-2014 season?
I think they'll, like I was saying earlier, kind of slow and steady improvement. I think last year they had 17 wins, but they proved they could. Like, they upset 12th-ranked South Carolina and beat perennial powerhouses Florida and Tennessee. I think they can prove that. I think they proved that they are a good team, but I think they'll improve some, maybe closer to 20 wins, maybe.
It will be interesting to see. This team definitely is just going to grow as the season goes on. Still a very young team, and they're trying to keep getting better. Well, as always, we want to thank Greg for taking the time to share a little insight with us and all of you viewers at home. When we come back, Eric and I will debate some topics with the return of Mad Minute, play some games, make our predictions for Pick 6, and, of course, have some fun in the process, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. Now, I know it appears as if Nick and I have a perfect relationship on TV, but we actually tend to disagree on a lot more than you would think.
Believe it or not.
So, naturally, we enjoy arguing back and forth, which is why we love this next segment. And with that said, it's time to play some Mad Minute. Now, Nick, we all know how it goes. We got a minute to answer a question. We'll debate a little bit back and forth. Now, we'll start with the first question. Coming into Kentucky, James Franklin actually suited up for Tennessee and was listed as a third-string quarterback. Now, going into Kentucky this Saturday, he is still listed as a third-string quarterback. Nick, do you think James Franklin should start for the Missouri Tigers?
I'm going to say no. There's supposed to be a medical staff making that decision today, but we haven't heard anything yet. I think that because it's against Kentucky, Kentucky is 0-4 in the SEC, and Missouri is obviously has its sights set on the SEC championship. And Matty Mock's been playing fine. It's not like there's desperate need for Franklin at this moment in time. I'd say with the bye week next week, give him an extra week rest, 2 weeks of rest. That way, by the Ole Miss game, he's good to go.
Yeah, I'm going to actually go on the other side. I think, yes, he needs to play. I think he needs the in-game experience. Practice can only give you so much experience. You need experience getting hit before Ole Miss so we can see if there's any injuries that are still lingering and that need to be addressed. Because Matty Mock is playing all right. He has a 48.9% completion rate. That's not going to get it done. And this is a perfect game where Matty Mock, as an inexperienced quarterback, could go into Kentucky while they are bad and possibly blow this game. So I think you got to start James Franklin.
I think it just comes down to, is he 100%? If he's 100% ready to go, then fine, I'm all right with playing him. But don't risk hurting that shoulder worse than it should be. But move on to the second one. That's all the time we got for that one. Number 2, the Missouri men's basketball team, although they've won their 2 preseason games, they played against pretty poor competition, and they barely won each game. So, Eric, let me ask you this. Is it time for this team to hit the panic button?
I'm going to go yes. A 13-point win over Central Missouri University. That's embarrassing. That's laughable. They just don't have any chemistry. There's only 2 guys that have played more than, most people have, the most experience anyone has playing together is 1 year, is last season. Because the only guys who have been here longer than that are Jabari Brown and Ernest Ross, and they sat. There's just no chemistry together, and that's the risk that you take when you bring a bunch of transfers in. They just don't mesh well. And with how good the SEC could be this year, they could be in trouble.
I'm on the absolute opposite end of the spectrum as you are. I think there's no reason to panic. Obviously, you mentioned how different the starting lineup is. There's 4 new players with the 4 players leaving from last year. But with that being said, there needs to be time for this team to gel. There's still a lot of talent on this team. I think Jordan Clarkson is going to prove to be a star, and he's got good shooters around him. He's got a good inside presence with Keanu Post. And like I said, this applies to all sports. It's the preseason. there's still a lot to be said, a lot to be changed going into the first game on Friday. So there's no reason to panic, in my opinion.
Yeah, but gelling together, I mean, that's what we said. That's what fans were saying last year, and they just never seemed to gel, and it showed in the NCAA tournament. I think they can miss out on the tournament this year easily.
I think they'll be all right. That's my opinion.
But switching from a debate to something we can agree on, we're going to do our top Tiger,
That's right.
top Mizzou athletes from this week. Nick, you're switching it up a little bit. You're going to
go switching it up
with
a little bit.
top Mizzou coach this week.
That's right. For me, it's got to be Wayne Kreklow. The guy won his 500th match as a head coach this past Saturday when Mizzou swept the Kentucky Wildcats. He has led Mizzou to a 27-0 record, which is the most wins for a Missouri volleyball team in the Kreklow area. That includes him and Susan Kreklow. And he's a very humble guy. You know, after the game, he didn't talk about win number 500 that much. He talked about how there's more important things. There's more important things going forward with this team. This team has a lot to prove, or a lot to still be played. They can still win a national championship. They're a top 7 team at this moment. So I like that. It's not just his contributions to the team as a whole, but it's how great of a guy and how humble of a guy he is.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go wrestling here. I'm gonna go Matt Manley. He's a redshirt freshman wrestler from Oklahoma. The wrestling team, one of the most underrated teams at Missouri. They always come out and they always produce top 10 teams, and he was great this past week. In the most recent tournament, he had 6 matches. He only lost 1 point. Not one match, 1 point. On
Pretty
his,
good day.
On his, it's just all right.
It's all right.
On his way to the 133-pound championship. This guy's a stud, and it's a good young core that Missouri is building, especially with guys like Don Bradley, who left last year. It's good to see that they're building around young guys this year for the wrestling
That's right, and that wrestling team really is a great program at Mizzou, and people don't really recognize that, but Mizzou wrestling has a lot of great things to look forward to. And as always, top Tiger, you really can't disagree, Wayne Kreklow and Matt Manley, sorry. Both had great weeks for Mizzou, so it's a good thing to see going forward. But how about this, for this week's Pick 6, I'm going to introduce it pretending to be you. Is that okay with you?
Whatever.
Okay, we'll show the Pick 6 standings for this week. Obviously, here's myself, Eric Kelly at the top, 35-12, yours truly. Is that how you usually do it, right? Yeah, 35-12, Eric's 4 games up, okay, whatever. Ryan, 4 games back, and Nick, 8 games back, along with Jeremy. Really far behind. Nick, what are you doing?
All I gotta say is that, I'm just gonna get in the gym. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna watch some tape. I'm gonna do some research. And I'm just gonna come out bigger and better than ever. And I'm gonna really excel this week, which is what I've said for the past 6 weeks. I know, and I come out and put together terrible performances. But I swear to you, like Peyton Manning, I'm gonna come out this week and I'm gonna excel.
So apparently I have an accent now?
Yeah.
I thought I did a great job as you, but I don't know. I'm totally disagreeing with the accent you threw in there for me.
I think you can dish it out. You just can't take it.
Well, the substance might have been good, but the accent, I don't know. I'll have to disagree on that one. Whatever. But okay, Pick 6. First game, we're picking Mizzou football versus Kentucky on Saturday. We're doing it the line. The line is 14 points. I'll go ahead and start us off. I think that the 14-point line is almost laughable. I mean, Mizzou has its sights set on the SEC championship. And Kentucky, as I said earlier, is winless in SEC. I see this being a blowout.
Yeah, Kentucky is really bad. And Missouri, they've won all of their games. All the wins have come by more than 14 points. And that's against teams like Georgia and Florida. And you're telling me that Kentucky is going to give Missouri a closer game than that? That's a joke. So I'm going to go with Missouri even with the points. Yep. So moving on, staying with the Missouri football team. 3 main running backs that have been leading the team: Marcus Murphy, Russell Hansborough, and Henry Josie. Who do you see having the most rushing touchdowns this weekend?
Well, for me, this is a really tough one. Like you said, it's kind of a 3-headed monster of sorts with these running backs. All of them can get in the end zone pretty much at will. And I think that I'm going to go with Marcus Murphy. He's second on the team in touchdowns, and he tends to get a lot of carries in the red zone. So I'm going to go with Murphy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Russell Hansborough. He scored 3 of his 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games. Kind of been disappointing the past couple of weeks if you're looking scoring-wise. But he did have a touchdown against Tennessee. Looked really good. Henry Josie, I don't know, he's just been kind of nagged by injuries for the past couple of games. Little injuries that you'll see him at the other end of the sideline. So you never know how much he's going to play. So I'll go with Russell Hansborough in that one.
Next up, we got the basketball team. Its first game on Friday against Southeastern Louisiana. I'll go ahead and start us off. We're doing a 20.5 over-under. We're just going to assume that Mizzou wins this game for the victory. We're going to assume that Mizzou wins. I'm going with the over. I think that the Mizzou, despite playing pretty poorly in the preseason, I think they're going to get it together. They realize that now it's time to go. It's the start of the season. And Southeastern Louisiana, I think, was 13-18 last year. So I think that Mizzou will win by about 21 points or
Well,
over.
I'm going to go with under.
Under.
Because
Another
just
wrong move.
Look how bad they played in the preseason. You think they're just going to be able to turn it on?
I think they can.
They're
I
going
think
to
this
say,
team is talented.
okay, guys, we're going to start trying this game.
The bench is a question mark, I'll give you that. But the starting lineup is very solid with Clarkson, Ernest Ross, Jabari Brown. We got an inside presence now. I think this team will be all right.
No Frank Haith, though.
That is true.
That's,
That'll be
that's
interesting
the
to see.
wild card.
Well, it'll be interesting.
How will the team react with Tim Fuller?
But how much do you need coaching in a game against Southeastern Louisiana? I think that
You need coaching. You're not going to just throw the guys out there and be like, have fun, guys. Let's see if you win by 20.5 points.
Mizzou can rely on its talent for this game, but I think we got to move on.
I'm going to go under on that one. Switching over to other college and pro sports. A big weekend, especially Thursday.
That's right.
Today in college football, going to start with number 3 Oregon, traveling to the Farm. Number 5 Stanford. I'll start it out here with the spread. The spread, I believe, is 10.5.
That's right.
On that game, and I'm still going to take Oregon. Oregon's still looking for revenge from last season, where they let Stanford come into their house and win an overtime thrower by 3. Marcus Mariota, easily Heisman candidate this year. I think Oregon wins by a lot.
Just look at these stats. You mentioned Mariota. 2,281 passing yards, 20 passing TDs, ran for 587 yards, and rushed for 9 touchdowns. This Oregon offense is unstoppable. I'm taking Oregon with the spread.
Okay, moving on to the next game. LSU traveling to Alabama. Who you got?
Alabama. Number 1 team in the nation. They're just too good. Despite playing against the LSU Tigers, I'm taking Alabama with the spread.
Spread is 11.5, but I'm going to go with Alabama as well.
That's right.
And then final game of the week, of Thursday, I guess.
Tonight, actually.
Is Oregon versus Baylor. Baylor's a 14.
Oklahoma at Baylor, yeah.
Oklahoma at Baylor, sorry. Baylor's a 14.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma will win, just in general. More experienced team. Blake Bell has shown his ability as a passer this year because the misconception was that he's only a runner, and he's really shown his passing ability. Baylor hasn't played anyone. Once you beat a good team, then I'll start to give you some respect.
I disagree with the fact that Oklahoma will win this game, but I am taking Oklahoma with the points. I think Baylor wins by 14.5 is a pretty big spread for a top 10 matchup like this is. So I'm going to take Oklahoma with the points. But now let's move on to freeze frame, everyone's favorite part. This week's freeze frame comes from a big brawl that happened in the MUTV studio. Punches and elbows were thrown. This is from the Tailgaters' first commercial. And let's see if we can get it up there.
This is a
technical difficulties. Great picture.
Great.
Yeah.
As you can see
with this black picture right in front of us.
As you can see, there's some
big brawl.
darkness, some dark.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Just a great time.
A great time with Tailgaters' first commercial. But we're going to have to wrap it up now, it looks like, right?
Wrap it up for the day.
That's all we got.
That's all we got for it. As always, if you need anything else, just go to mutv.missouri.edu where you can check out any sports packages that you want, as well as entertainment and news. And don't forget to watch Tailgaters and Triple Play to check out all the sports knowledge from Jeremy Shank and Ryan Frano, and also Alex Farkas and Avery Franklin. Before we leave you guys, that's all for this week, by the way. That's all for this week. And before we leave you guys, we just want you to know, as our valued TW23 viewers, if you're wondering whether or not to do something questionable this weekend, just remember, WWEND. What would Eric and Nick do? See you soon.
The Atlanta Hawks and the NBA. Keep you from going blind. Keep safety on your mind. Okay, now here's a word to use your best behavior. Don't be an animal, or you could be arrested. Don't use improper language. You know what not to say. Don't think about interrupting play. I take you to a house game. And don't throw objects. No throwing objects or obscene gestures. Have a good time. Of course, no fighting. That would be tragic. Might get ejected. Have a good time. We know you want it. Just simply obey this code of conduct. Have a good time. But if you should see something not worthy, call security.